Hello, it's Victor here, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my 3 favorite clothing tips for a more transmasculine look, or really just more of a masculine look for transmasculine people. These 3 tips are color, fit, and segmentation. And what I mean by segmentation is where the top ends and the bottom begins. In order to understand our goals for achieving a more masculine look, let's first talk about the romanticized male physique, and also the conventional female physique. For most people that are trying to achieve a more masculine look, the romanticized male picture of what they want to be is more broad in the chest and shoulders, flatter in the chest, and narrower in the hips. Now, the typical assigned female at birth body generally has narrower shoulders, a non-flat chest, narrower waist, and broader hips. Now, I personally think that having broader shoulders helps a lot when trying to go for a more mask look. So if you haven't already seen my workout video, I kind of go over some gym exercises you could do for a flatter chest and for broader shoulders. So here's the million-dollar question. Can we achieve a more masculine look by using only clothing? Now, of course, it goes without saying that everybody's body is different. I've only ever dressed my body, and you've probably only ever dressed your body unless you have a child, in which case you've probably dressed them. But that aside, I've only ever dressed my body, so these are the things that have worked well for me. In general, our clothing goals here are to make the shoulders appear broader, to make the chest appear flatter, to smooth out the waist so you don't get that tapering in and then coming back out for the hips, and to make the hips appear narrower. Now, in reality, most of these tips, at least for me, end up making me look more like boxy, like straight down, rather than that like romanticized male physique of being like that upside down triangle. And honestly, that's okay with me. But these things may work for you, or different things may work for you. So if you have other clothing tips, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be very interested to hear what other people think about this. So just a couple of quick notes on kind of the layout of this video. For each of the 3 tips I listed in the beginning, I will be modeling 3 different looks, one with shorts, one with pants, and one that is more professionally oriented. And within each of those 3 categories, I'll give you an example of something I think works well for me and something that doesn't work as well for me. In addition, because I know not everyone has a binder or has access to get a binder, I will be wearing a sports bra through all of these, just so that you can see that this can work even if you're not aggressively binding with an official binder or whatever. So let's get started with tip number 1. Color. In general, darker colors tend to conceal curvature a little bit more. So the way that the fabric falls, you don't really see like wrinkles, and you don't really see places where the fabric is folding as much as you would on a lighter color. Because of this, I think in general, darker colors on the top do a lot to help me out with concealing my chest area. So you can see it kind of like, you can see a lot up here, right? So you can see it's a little bit better. It doesn't really like accent it as much. It's a lighter color, and so you might be able to see like chest area things a little bit better. Whereas this one's a darker color, and so you basically can't see anything as far as I'm concerned. So this one you can kind of see like this area a little bit more. So it's black, it looks like pretty like straight. Tip number 2 is to find things that taper in at the hips rather than tapering in at the waist. If it doesn't taper at all, that's also perfectly fine. But what we're trying to avoid here is something that comes in at the waist and then goes back out at the hips. When things taper in at the waist and then go back out at the hips, it kind of emphasizes how wide the hips are, which in my opinion is not very flattering, at least on someone like me. When considering the fit for pants, consider something that is tighter at the top and then gets looser at the bottom. What this is going to do is it's going to kind of make the whole look a little bit boxier, rather than looking like you have big hips, and then if it's continuing to be tight as it goes down the legs, it just kind of like funnels it in and makes the hips look extra big. So if you can find something that's a little bit tighter at the hips, maybe sometimes even around the butt, that will kind of like keep it all together, and then if it gets looser as it goes down, then it just kind of keeps that shape as it goes down. This one's just kind of like very hourglassy. Not a fan. This one kind of clearly just goes like straight down. They kind of like go down at the legs. So it's like pretty wide, and then it continues to like, it goes down at the legs. Okay, these are my tactical pants from Search and Rescue, so they're maybe not the best example because they're not super fashionable, but they have a more masculine shape in that they're just like more boxy. This one kind of clearly just flares out at the bottom, which is not super great. And this one is much boxier, so that's kind of nice. My third and final tip is segmentation. This is where the top stops and the bottom begins. So essentially where your pants and shirt meet. Now that line where your pants and shirt meet kind of cue the eyes for where to look and what to be looking for. It kind of separates your top from your bottom. If this line is too low, then your shirt could be accenting your waist going in and your hips going out. And if this line is too high, then it could be your pants doing exactly the same thing, accenting your waist going in and your hips going out. Both of these are things that I try to avoid. In general, I try to aim to have this segmentation line right at my hips or even right above my hips. A brief side note with this is if you're wearing the same color on the top and the bottom, that basically destroys this one entirely because where that like top bottom line is doesn't matter because it's all the same color, and so people's eyes are just going to see your whole shape and figure regardless. This is why I generally try to avoid wearing suits that are the same color with the jacket and in the pants with also the same color shirt. As much as possible, I try to wear a different color jacket than my pants, or at the very least have my shirt be a different color than my jacket and pants. Again, this is kind of to help the eye break up what is the top half of you and what's the bottom half of you, and the eye is less likely to kind of see it all as one shape and figure, which kind of tricks the eye into not seeing the hips being as wide as maybe they are. When this is pulled down, you can see that it flares out. It flares out so you can like really see hips and all that. Just casually lay, then it's a lot better. So you can see like the t-shirt doesn't segment quite as well as the black shirt. Come up a little bit higher. You kind of get that motion. So they segment right on the hips. Alright, so to briefly recap, we have 3 tips here. Color. Dark colors on the top generally help to hide the chest a little bit better by not showing the curves as much. Tip number 2 is fit. By having something that is either boxy straight down or that comes in at the hips rather than at the waist, it kind of helps the eye not see the waist go in and the hips go out. Finally, tip number 3 is segmentation. Make sure that that line of where your top half ends and your bottom half begins is clear and is where you want it to be. So for me, that's like right on or above my hips. In general, I try to use at least 1 to 2 out of the 3 tips at any given time whenever I'm dressing myself. Of course, that rule is like super in flux, and if I'm feeling particularly femme one day, I might disregard all of the rules. I would find it very difficult, I think, to combine all 3 of those at the same time, and I've generally found that 1 to 2 of them at a time works pretty well. Alright, well let me know what you think. If you try any of these and they work for you, or if they don't work for you, let me know in the comments. If you have any tips of your own, please do let me know. I'm always looking for new ways to dress myself and new things to try. I kid you not, I literally just got dressed and undressed like at least a dozen times. That was horrible. I hate getting dressed and undressed. If you enjoyed this video, please do, in honor of me getting dressed and undressed like, 18 times for this video, please give me a like and a subscribe. Alright, I hope that was helpful. Until next time.